So we have 3 airlines here. I think everybody knows Malaysia Airlines. I think depending on the region, probably some people don't know perhaps Adria and Rock Airways in this region. I think everybody knows Rock now. So if we can, just a brief thumbnail of your 2 airlines, what you do, and then we'll carry on with it. So you want to start with John?
Okay. Well, Rock Airways is a regional carrier here in the UAE. We're a national carrier of Ras Al Khaimah. We've been up and running now for a couple of years. We're small but expanding. We launched a business class product in the early part of the summer. We've just changed our reservation system so we can do a lot more, and we started a co-chair with Etihad in October. And realistically, I've been following Optiontown for a couple or 3 years now and was instrumental in implementing them elsewhere before. So now that the opportunities have arisen for us to start to optimize our revenue from our empty seats and from our business class cabin, I want to go ahead with that.
And and then Alan first. And by the way, yeah. So yeah. Just and I apologize. It says on the program that Clement was going to be here. So Alan, just to introduce you,
just a few words.
Right.
Okay.
You're just joining us, and
can
just
you hear
tell us about
me?
You got
Everyone can hear me? Okay, perfect.
Yeah. And so if you would just briefly about Adria.
First,
and you've been through an interesting little transition, the airline and whatnot, a restructuring.
Right,
Yes.
So let me first apologize that our CEO cannot be here, as there is one important meeting connected with the restructuring and the discussions with the potential partners. So
and just
Adria Airways,
just so you know who you are first. Alan
okay.
is the director of corporate communications for the airline.
For Adria Airways. Our airline is a regional airline with a 51 years history. We cover just the region, the Europe, so no long-haul flights. Maybe a few words about the restructuring. Last year we stepped into the restructuring phase as we needed to first downsize, to cancel certain destinations, as well as downsize in terms of the number of employees. And now we are actually looking for partners to invest in Adria Airways, and now the very extensive discussions are being carried in terms of finding a strategic partner.
Okay. And Malaysia Airlines, at the moment it's your Firefly unit that uses Optiontown, correct? Is that?
That's correct, yes. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And so first of all, could you just tell us about Firefly and why it is that this was a fit for that, perhaps?
Well, just to give you a bit of background on Malaysia Airlines, I've recently been with Malaysia Airlines since 7 months now, so I'm still learning the organization. But Firefly effectively is it's not a low-cost variant of Malaysia Airlines, but it just provides a very efficient service from the city airport into most of the domestic points around, including markets like Singapore. But they got a very business-oriented market segment, so in a sense it's almost counterintuitive in the sense that the yields are very good. They operate ATRs, and they just started with the system recently with a certain degree of success, I must add. In Malaysia Airlines, the parent brand retains the international operations and the jet services. And Sachin, my friend, he has been after my life, talking about Optiontown for several years. In fact, I used to be at Etihad Airways and got some of my colleagues sitting here. We've been talking about this option for a little while as well. So Firefly has got it. It's working well for them. The question is, how do we move forward now?
Yeah. Alan, it strikes me a lot of times airlines wait until they're in a situation where they are restructuring to do creative things, be it this or something else. Why is that? Why isn't, I mean, wouldn't you think that no matter how much money you're making, even if you're successful, you'd always want to make more? So why is it that all of a sudden when an airline is restructuring like Adria was, that's when you're doing something like this?
When we started with the restructuring, we set up more than 100 measures. And one of the measures which was set up this year was also ancillary revenues. That's why we also got in touch with Optiontown, and because we are, as we already said today at the press conference, like a white paper So we had no experience in post-sale, but we needed to find a way how to generate some further revenues, because there were two factors that we were really hit this year or last year. One is, of course, the fuel price, and another one is the exchange rate of US and Euro. So we needed to find some further and additional revenues. And we are very confident to say that actually the ancillaries are the field where we can gain some further revenues. And that was clearly stated in the restructuring plan in one of the measures, ancillary services.
Okay. And so both of your airlines are just now implementing Optiontown. John, you mentioned you had been in conversations with them for a while, and now it finally made sense to do it. What's been your experience early on? Has it been, in terms of just the implementation, has it been as easy as they're saying?
There's no question about that. I mean, basically, once you have provided the links have been tested, you've agreed what business dimensions there are, such as the number of seats, the price you want to charge, and those standard sorts of things, and you've set up the web link, it works.
Yeah.
And then Optiontown just basically send you the check, which is really what you want from those sorts of things. And also, you have the confidence of knowing that this is not going to dilute existing revenue, because you're not talking about something which is forecastable from a consumer perspective, whether it's whichever options you're looking for. And of course, I think the empty seat option, which is a relatively new option that was introduced since I last had dealings with the company. I mean, I know quite clearly, first of all, that we have empty seats, and secondly, one of the key negative aspects of economy travel for a lot of people is who's sitting next to them, because the proximity is so close. So the opportunity to pay what would be a relatively small fee to guarantee that the seat next to you is empty is something which I think is going to be very, very popular.
Yeah. Shihaj, you and I were speaking earlier about some of the the typical things that make airlines reluctant to implement anything new. And I know you mentioned a couple of them. Deliverability, right? You can promise something but can't you deliver it? And another, and particularly with this, I wonder if you could speak to that. And to issues of privacy, when you partner and you're giving access to PNRs and stuff. I know that's something you said that at one time in your career you would have said absolutely not, and now maybe you've had new thoughts about that. Can you take me through those thought processes?
As a revenue management practitioner, you're very reluctant for external parties or anybody else for that matter in the business telling you how to do your job. I think that's very common with revenue management guys. They like to think that they always do the right thing. So there's always a reluctance to evolve and think that there's potentially an opportunity outside what you do today. So when these products are being presented to you in sense of, for example, empty seat option, the first thing that comes to your mind is, why do I want to hedge my bets that way? Why can't I do something at the tactical price level to stimulate demand and sell it accordingly? But the reality is, the longer you try, you're going to get more volumes, but at significantly lower yields, and the net effect is going to be exactly the same. So I'm slowly becoming a convert on that front. Customers making the choice here of saying, yes, I would like to be part of this option, and therefore I'm in effect giving my details away. That was one of our big concerns earlier. And unfortunately, even today, it's difficult to get a seamless end-to-end process executed for this, because the software takes control of your bookings, reissues it, and while theoretically it's good to be fully automated, the reality is that there are always going to be some misconnects here and there. And that's when human intervention comes in, and what do you do next? But I think the overall big scheme of things, the benefit of doing such a thing, again, at least from the data that you've seen, is worth taking that risk. That's what I think.
Can I make a point as well? I think though that we actually refer to the carriers in question as legacy, as traditional, and of course, therefore, by definition, they will not be early adopters of external technology. And of course, it takes a while before the innovators and the early adopters actually adopt the product, before then you get to the point where the larger, the mass market, which if we're talking about airlines will be the traditional legacy carriers, actually realize that it's something worth exploring. And I suppose in that sense, they are customers of the technology, and the small carriers and those who have got let's say, a more agile decision-making process and so on and so forth, will probably take those decisions much earlier than the large carriers, where people defend, you know, their department, their practice, and so on and so forth, and they'll be risk-averse in that regard. Plus, of course, is that if you go to a legacy carrier and say, we can give you a 7% conversion rate on business revenue, they're going to show you the door, aren't they? Because that's something which they've probably failed to achieve over the last 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
Can I also add something? But if we compare, let's say, the legacy carriers and let's say the low costers in Europe, we are bombed with the low costers. Also Slovenia. Slovenia is a very small market, but we have 2 or 3 low costers flying to Ljubljana. Although the market is so small. But if I talk to some friends, to some business partners, their experience with the booking, their booking experience is not very positive, and all this bombarding with additional services, I think, are not communicated in the right way. So I think we have to be very careful how to communicate this ancillary products. People in Europe, and I can say for Slovenia, are fed up with the way how the low costers communicate with the customers. It's so aggressive, it's too aggressive, and they're reluctant to certain additional services offered. So here I think we have to find a really good and middle way how to communicate to our customer the additional products.
Yeah. If I may just add to what you just said, I think it's horses for horses, in the sense, for some market segments, this just doesn't suit them, right? They don't want to be given too many choices. You give too many choices and it confuses them. They're not sure what they want to buy. But there are certain markets, in the Asia Pacific in particular, where there's multiple frequencies, especially in the domestic and the ASEAN region. And there's a huge amount of frequencies that fly between these points. It's a great opportunity for products like these to actually work in those markets. And people actually proactively searching for things like that. But in markets like Middle East, it's a bit different in that, you know, people like to see prepackaged, you know, fully delivered product, especially in the international markets. But as you were saying, from Rock Airways' perspective, if it's working great, then there's a segment that we're not tapping clearly today.
For our region, let's say these ancillary services are completely new for the whole region, not only for Slovenia. So I think the right way how to communicate with our customers will be very, very crucial, so that they will not just say, we don't want anything. But so we have to find a really good strategy how to communicate, which media to choose. I don't know, probably first with the social media, where, let's say, more IT literate people go on. But it's, as you said, it's depending on from the market to the market. And you have to take into consideration the specific of each market.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for the panel? Love to engage anybody else. Just stop me if at some point you do. I'll carry on until then. So just wondering, especially as you've just recently begun adopting this, both Adrian and Rock. So did you consider other ways of doing this? I mean, did your airlines at any point consider trying to do it on your own? Did you consider other suppliers? Did you check references? Did you call other airlines and ask about their experiences? What was that process?
Well, we've been doing it ourselves since June on an ad hoc basis. Admit that I have some concerns right across the board in terms of integrity, in terms of charging someone for a product at the last minute, normally at the airport, when you can't deliver aspects of the product, particularly if it's too late for the onboard meal, for example. And it means it requires a significant amount of coordination between departments, particularly at the airport, at a point at which they're frantically trying to get the aircraft to on time anyway. So it's an unnecessary burden for what's perceived as being a small amount of revenue when you talk about a single upgrade. And so we experimented with it, not with a view to seeing how well we could make it work. I was pretty convinced from the beginning that we weren't going to make it work as well as you could work with a professional provider such as Optiontown.
almost have like a baseline to see, okay, well, this is what. Yeah.
We did a very good evaluation, but we are a very small company, so we are really price sensitive. So we were looking at the costs and to get the most out of the product. And with Optiontown, we were really satisfied how everything is set and what costs occur. So and what the process takes. So it's very easy, smooth, and I think that we chose the right provider, and that we'll also get some results out of that.
Yeah. Shiash, how long has Firefly more or less been with Optiontown?
About 3-4 months now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just early returns so far from what you've seen?
Unfortunately, or fortunately, the setup of Firefly is completely independent, although they are a subsidiary of us. Yeah. So some of the data is a bit cloudy at this stage.
Yeah.
But the feedback we get from the CEO of Firefly, it's working very well for them.
Okay.
They fly at an average load factor of 75% on a 70-seater aircraft. So there's obviously a lot of seats to give away. Give away being a very loose word, but he seems to think this is working really well for him.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess the market probably knows the product pretty well there, because AirAsia X, of course, has been marketing it as well. So some of the same people.
Yeah, sure. And the irony is, Malaysia Airlines actually had this product till mid of last year. The change of management and the related, sort of reorganizing caused it to fall out now. But we are looking at a product that helps to leverage some of those empty seats, and it's public news. We fly at an average of 77% load factor. That's a lot of seats that go empty in a day. It's how do you fill them up?
Yeah. Any other questions? Well, I'll tell you what. Let's quickly just any other thoughts that any of you have that you think we haven't covered that people should know so far.
I think that through the presentations today we covered a lot of already. So
okay. I think my view is, whatever the process may be in terms of ancillary, post-sale, pre-sale, anything it could be. Amadeus at the presentation, we spoke about end-to-end delivery of the product, and I think that's critical, no matter what you try and sell. And it could be something else in the future. Sachin started with a portfolio of few products as part of the Optiontown umbrella, and now it's 11, 12 or more perhaps now. And that could go on and on. The question is, are we set up as an airline to, or even with the airport authorities, to deliver some of these products seamlessly for customers? Because sometimes all it requires is one thing to go wrong, and you'll have customers in today's world where you can just tweet it, in milliseconds to talk about it, talk about a bad news story. Unfortunately, bad news comes out faster and quicker than good news. So I think we just got to be careful as an industry as to what we're trying to promise our customers on that front. That would be my only concern with any of these products.
I would actually point out one field where we are really careful and we don't know actually what exactly to do. We have a very low sale over the internet, less than 5%. So we really rely on the agents.
Sure.
So at the first time, we of course we want to increase the percentage. Okay, one of the goals is 20-30%, but I don't know in what period. But still, how to communicate with the agents? They are very sensitive in Slovenia. We talk a lot with them on a daily basis. And let's say right now we have a marketing campaign which actually guides everyone to the website. And we have some kind of war with agents. And the services that we are now adding that we'll be adding to the web page, again, will be offered on the web page. So we are still trying to find a way how to communicate with the agents, why we are doing this, and that they are still important for us, and that we'll not forget about them. But still, we don't know how to do that because we still rely on the agents' network.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm sure you're not the only carrier who's struggled with that. Absolutely. Well then. But I'd like to thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, absolutely.